Welcome to Opinion Journal Live. I'm Mary Kissel. Breaking news in these last hours out of Algeria reports that the army is attempting to take control of an oil field where around 40 foreigners were being held by Islamic militants. Reportage of hostage escapes, deaths. It is unconfirmed at this hour. But we can talk opinion, and we will. Is this 1979 all over again? That's the big question. Michael Ledeen, Freedom Scholar at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, joining me from Washington. Michael, first thing I thought of, Jimmy Carter, 1979, American hostages abroad. Is that the right comparison to think about today? Michael.
Well, it's a good start. I mean, in many ways, what's been going on recently is worse than 1979. 1979 was just hostages. We've had an American ambassador assassinated in Benghazi.
Now, in terms, though, of that comparison, 1979, it was just focused on Iran. And as you rightly point out, we have many incidents here of hostage-taking, not just Algeria. You've been reporting on hostages in Iran. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, there's plenty of American hostages in Iran. There's this former Marine, Iranian-American Marine, who's under arrest and under death sentence. There's a middle-aged American businessman who's under arrest in prison. Just last night, Iranian TV came out and broadcast what they claimed were videos of American spies confessing to having spied for CIA in Iran. And they gave some kind of funny name from which it's impossible to identify the person, and they claimed there were several others. So there are plenty of American hostages in Iran today. They stockpiled them. It's part of their business.
Michael, why is this happening now, and why aren't we hearing more about this in the national press?
Well, we don't hear about it because of what happened to Carter, because the hostages became a club with which the Carter administration was beaten, and it drove policy. And journalists do not now want to embarrass this administration and have situations like this drive policy, and so they ignore it.
Now, one of the most notable things about this current hostage crisis in Algeria is the lack of U.S. involvement. We had an editorial on that today. MIA yes. In Mali. This is related to this Algerian incident. What should yes. U.S. involvement be? How should we be thinking about these situations?
We should think about them because they're as part of a global war against the United States. And our enemies are becoming more ambitious and more aggressive because nothing ever happens to them. So if you can kill an American ambassador, if you can invade an American consulate, which is legally American territory, so they violated American sovereignty and assassinated an American official, and nothing happens, because nothing has happened to them, then you come to believe you can do anything and nothing will happen. So they're doing more and more, and they will do even more.
Michael, is there any, we've got about a minute left, is there any indication that the Obama administration is thinking more broadly about this continuing war on terror, maybe in the way that the Bush administration thought about it, that it's an ideological war, we have to fight on many fronts? Or is this just sort of an ad hoc approach where they go in when they feel that they need to?
Well, every indication that I have anyway is that they refuse even to talk about it. We're not even permitted to talk about a war on terror. The word terror has been banned from the lexicon here in Washington, D.C. I don't know, maybe in New York you can say it, but not here.
No, they don't talk about it much here in New York either, although thankfully we've got Ray Kelly as the head of the police force with his own anti-terror unit. Great guy who is keeping us safe. Very quickly, Michael, this incoming defense, CIA, State Department heads, is the situation going to improve?
No, the situation will not improve until we, as my old boss Alexander Haig used to say, go to the source. You find Iran's hand in all of these things, Iranian weapons, Iranian bullets all over Africa. They've been playing in Mali and Nigeria and Ivory Coast, all over the place for years. We have not wanted to see that. If we can bring down the regime in Iran, which is easy and non-military, you have a huge percentage of the population that wants to get engaged in this, that would be the single best thing that could happen on all these fronts. Otherwise, we're facing a global war. It extends over many continents, and it's an alliance of radical Muslims and radical leftists, and it's very scary.
Michael Ledeen, Freedom Scholar at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. You can find him on the blogs, blogging for PJ Media, Echoes of 1979. Thank you, Michael.